What if I told you that silence can be your most powerful weapon? Simply withdrawing and remaining silent can trigger a series of events that transform everything. Most men often underestimate the powerful impact of simply walking away. When you stop talking to a woman, her response becomes more powerful than any words she could ever utter. Let's face it, most men fear silence because they fear losing control or appearing weak. Trying to beg, chase, or explain yourself only makes your case weaker. Women aren't interested in men. Men who understand their value, even in the face of rejection, attract women. As soon as you stop engaging, the relationship changes, and a woman will notice, even if she doesn't say she does. She will start to wonder why he isn't calling. Did he lose interest? Is he seeing someone else? Suddenly, the man she used to feel safe avoiding is now the one she can't stop thinking about. But here's the interesting part. Not all women react the same way when you're silent. Some will chase you non-stop. Some women may push you to regain control, while others may show no concern. Knowing the difference between these types of women is important for figuring out if she's worth your time and energy or just a distraction. In this video, we'll go into detail about the psychology behind a woman's response to your silence. You'll learn the subtle signs she's feeling your absence, the reasons behind her behavior, and how to use this information to keep your power. So, if you've ever found yourself chasing someone who pulls away, this video is for you. This is your alarm clock. When you stop talking to a woman, she starts to question herself. This is particularly true if she's accustomed to your constant availability, your tendency to initiate texts first, or your constant attempts to resolve issues. When there's a fight, your silence becomes unbearable to her, and the attention she used to take for granted feels like something she can't live without. Why does this happen? Its simple human psychology thrives on validation. When you constantly provide attention and reassurance, she feels secure in your presence, almost like it's guaranteed. But when you take that away, you introduce an element of uncertainty. Women, just like anyone else, crave certainty. They want to feel valued, desired, and admired. So when you step back, she starts to feel the absence of your validation, and this absence triggers a chase. At first it might seem subtle. She may suddenly reply faster to your social media posts, laugh a little too hard at your jokes, or casually bring up inside jokes you both share. But as time goes on, her actions may become more direct. She might reach out to ask why you've gone quiet, or bring up something seemingly random just to get your attention. These small actions are her way of seeking the validation that your silence has denied her. Here's the key. This isn't just about her missing your texts or calls. It's about her needing to know that she still matters to you. For many women, validation serves as a mirror, reflecting their value in the eyes of others. When you cease to provide this reflection, she begins to pursue it. A man is in a relationship with a woman who has grown accustomed to his nightly calls to check in. One day, he stops calling, focusing solely on himself and not reaching out. At first, she thinks he must be busy, but by the second or third day she starts to feel uneasy and starts to wonder why he isn't calling. Did I do something wrong? Is he losing interest? Suddenly she's texting him to see if everything is okay or making plans to reconnect. This change is powerful because it shifts the balance of power. When she starts chasing, it shows that your absence has left a void that she's desperate to fill. But here's the secret. You don't fill it for her. You let her actions show what she wants. This doesn't mean being cold or manipulative. It means knowing the power of space and giving her the chance to think about what your presence actually means to her. And when she chases you, it's not just to feel validated again. It's to realize that she values you more than she thought. She tests your boundaries to regain control. When you stop talking to a woman, one of the first things you think she might do is test your boundaries. It's not always on purpose. She often does it to regain the control she feels she's lost. Think of it this way. By being quiet, you've upset the balance she was used to, and now she doesn't know where she stands with you. This can make her act in ways you wouldn't expect. Boundary testing often comes in subtle forms at first. At first, she might send vague or teasing messages like, "I guess you're too busy for me now," or "Wow, someone's been quiet." The point of these comments is to get you to talk and reassure her that she's still in charge. If these gentler attempts don't work, she might try to make you jealous by talking about other men in her life or posting photos with vague captions on social media. This is her way of saying, "Look at me, I'm still desirable and you're missing out." But here's the catch. What she really wants is for you to break your silence. Not the other guys or the pictures, seeing if you'll give in and contact her. For example, let's say you've been dating a woman who's used to getting texts from you right away, but now you've decided to take a break and focus on yourself. If you don't respond right away, she sends you a playful, "Did you lose your phone?" message. If you don't, she follows up with something more direct, like, "Guess I'll just hang out with someone who actually has time for me." This is where most men go wrong. They respond defensively or try to explain themselves because they think it will make things better, but responding only confirms that her boundary test worked, and she's still in charge. Instead, you should maintain your position. If you don't react to her advances, she has to face her own behavior and realizes that testing your boundaries won't get the response she's looking for. At this point, she either respects your newfound independence or shows that her intentions were never real. The simple lesson here is that a woman testing your limits is not a sign of strength, but of insecurity. By staying calm, collected and unaffected, you show her that you're a man who values himself enough not to play games, and this is what earns real respect. 3. She acts like she doesn't care, but she secretly overthinks it. When you stop talking to a woman, one of the most common and annoying things she'll do is act like she doesn't care or that your silence doesn't bother her. But deep down, she's overthinking everything. It's almost like she's trying to convince herself that your absence doesn't mean anything when it's really the only thing on her mind. This is a defense mechanism. Basically, women don't like to look weak, especially when they think they might be losing control. Therefore, instead of expressing how much your silence is hurting her, she will put on a brave front. She might act distant or like she's fine without you, but she's actually thinking about what's going on and why you pulled away. Now here's where things get interesting. Although she acts like she doesn't care, she's actually very aware of everything you do, every post you make, every time she sees you with someone else. And even if you just leave her alone for a few hours, she'll think about it and start reading into things that don't really matter. This constant overthinking is a sign that your silence is working. You've given her time to think, but in the process she's been filled with questions. He hasn't called in a while. Did he meet someone new? Is he really losing interest in me, or is he just trying me out? Even though she doesn't say them often, these feelings take over her mind and heart. She acts like she doesn't care because being vulnerable is seen as weak. And many women are taught to hide their true feelings so they don't look needy or clingy. But here's the thing. Most of them can't hide it for long. The more she tries to act like she's not affected, the clearer it is that she isn't. She's thinking about you a lot. The silence you've created has turned her world upside down, and she's desperately trying to make sense of it. It's like a puzzle she can't quite put together, and every time she tries to explain your behavior, she comes up with more questions. One of the most powerful things about being quiet is that you don't have to say anything or do anything big. Your absence does the talking for you. She may act distant or even try to make you think she's fine without you, but she's really just trying to hold it together while secretly wondering what you're thinking and feeling. Many men are unaware of the emotional struggle she's going through, but if you maintain your composure and remain silent, you can force her to confront her own emotions. She'll overthink and second-guess, and in the end she'll start asking herself the questions that will make her reach out to you, even if she tries to act like she's not affected. It's important to acknowledge that if you cease communication with a woman, she may seek validation from other sources. This isn't always about moving on or replacing you. Sometimes it's about calming the ego that silence can cause. But here's the harsh truth. If you've made him feel like he needs to look for attention from someone else, you might want to question the dynamics of the relationship in the first place. Before you become defensive, let's discuss an important point. Many men believe that silently walking away is a foolproof strategy. If your quietness makes you seem immature, inconsistent, or just manipulative, it's not a surprise that she might look for comfort somewhere else. Women prefer not to experience emotional conflict. If you've been leading her on without giving her clarity or constantly disappearing only to reappear when it suits you, she's not the problem. You are. You can use silence to create space for reflection and communication, but if you overuse it or use it as a weapon, it can create a rift between you and push her towards someone who understands how to value her properly. This isn't about blaming men. It's about taking responsibility for your actions if you're not providing security, consistency, or mutual respect. What do you want her to do? Sit around forever looking for clues? Wake up. On the other hand, if you've been solid, clear, and intentional, and she still looks for approval somewhere else, that's her fault. Some individuals are addicted to attention and will seek it out wherever they can. This behavior is a warning sign. Simply put, you should not invest your time or energy in a woman who quickly seeks approval from others after the conversation concludes. What are you doing with your silence? Are you manipulating or creating something meaningful? If it's the latter, her reaction will tell you everything you need to know about her character and emotional maturity. However, if she seeks validation from someone else, it should serve as a warning about her and the type of relationship you're selecting. Ultimately, you deserve a partner who loves you for your true self, not someone who requires constant attention to feel worthy. Remember that relationships work both ways, so make sure you're going in the right direction. She completely hides the truth about indifference. Direction 5. She goes away. The whole truth about apathy. There's a chance that a woman will go in a totally different direction after leaving you. She's no longer there at all. She doesn't text, call, or make any other subtle attempts to get your attention. It's like she disappears, leaving you to wonder if she ever cared. At first glance, people often misinterpret this response. While she may appear uninterested or unaffected, the truth is far more complex. When a woman disappears after you've stopped talking to her, she's either really done something or she's trying to protect you. Herself, if she's genuinely done, it means she had already emotionally checked out before you stopped talking to her. Your silence didn't create the distance, it revealed it. In this case, she's likely been waiting for the opportunity to move on, and your lack of communication just gave her the green light. This can be a tough pill to swallow, but it's an important reality to face. A woman who disappears because she's done wasn't deeply invested to begin with, and in the long run that's not someone you want to chase. But more often than not, her disappearing act isn't about being done. It's about regaining control when a woman feels like she's losing power in a dynamic. Her instinct might be to withdraw entirely. Think of it as a form of emotional self-preservation instead of chasing you or showing vulnerability. She removes herself from the equation entirely, hoping to regain some sense of control over the situation. For guys, this response can be very frustrating because it makes them feel like they're being ignored or thrown away. But here's the thing. Ignoring her silence isn't a sign of indifference. It's probably a strategy to see if you'll break first. Reaching out to her confirms that her disappearance worked, but not doing so forces her to face losing you. It's important to know that this reaction doesn't always mean she doesn't care. In fact, it often means the opposite. When someone is quiet, they're probably thinking about their feelings and trying to decide whether to stay quiet to protect her pride or reach out to get clarity. In these situations, patience is your best asset. If she disappears to test you, your calm response will show her that you're not easily swayed. And if her silence is real indifference, your decision not to react will save you the trouble of wasting time and energy on someone who isn't interested in you. Ultimately, indifference is not always as straightforward as it appears. Whether she disappears to protect herself or to test you, your best move is to stay calm. Let her actions show you what she really wants, and trust that the right people will value your presence without having to manipulate you into showing it. The shocking truth that no one wants to face is that if you're constantly chasing after a woman who wants approval from other people, you're wasting your time. No matter how much you care, once you leave, it will be about her need for attention from someone else. If she's not willing to put effort into the relationship, don't fool yourself into thinking that playing games with silence will make her chase you. Also, don't settle for being a backup option. I understand that this may be difficult, particularly if you've experienced significant emotional turmoil, but it's time for men to awaken and cease attempting to navigate another person's emotional journey. Standing your ground and knowing your worth gives you real power in a relationship. If she can't see that, she should leave. So, when a woman tried to validate you with someone else, did you fall for it, or did you realize your worth? Write your stories in the space below. I'd love to talk to you about how you dealt with it. Let's share and learn from each other.